just to run through on the mock draft of right now, people are expecting possibly 3 quarterbacks because the teams that are at the top of the draft, Chicago Bears, Commanders, Patriots, all are in the market technically for a quarterback. And those names right now are Caleb Williams, Drake May, Jaden Daniels has creeped up there as well. A dynamic player, obviously the Heisman Trophy winner. But then there's a guy, where does Michael Penix go now? Because that was a tough game against Michigan. By the way, if you heard people talk about Michigan, that's a great defense. The styles, he had no time. I haven't changed my opinion on Michael Penix Jr. I think he can go to a great place. I still like Atlanta. Kevin, I know you're with me on that.
I think Atlanta would be a fine spot for him, but I will say this is a what have you done for me now lately sport in football. And so we talked him up all the past week about he balled out against Texas, and he did. I mean, he made NFL level throws. But then he comes back against Michigan. To your point, Ryan, great defense.
Fantastic
and
defense.
He's missing throws. Michigan boat races him. I mean, to me, I think this does drop his stock. Now, maybe a team does fall in love with him, right? It happens where we see what we consider a reach, but another team is locked in on that guy, and he's number one on their board. But I could see him maybe slipping to middle of the first round, end of the first round, maybe early. Maybe it's a Will Levis situation where he falls to like the very early 30s and a team takes him there and it's a better situation for him.
I was going to say, I think that's perfect for him, actually.
Yeah.
I think especially when, I know, Ryan, I'm sorry, but I'm going to bring it up, especially with the age concern that I have. I think we've talked about how he is a more developed quarterback. So, you throw him in a situation where it is a more developed team. It's a team that has, maybe is picking in the 20s. So you're sitting there and you're like, okay, they're a team that was just a quarterback away. He could find himself in a much better situation than if someone falls in love with him in the top 10, top 5, and suddenly he's got to go be the guy. If he comes middle of the first and it's like, okay, we have pieces already around you. Now you can go ball out. I think that's the best situation.
Maybe you trade up like we saw with Lamar Jackson. The Ravens trade to 32. And again, the Ravens had Joe at the time, but maybe it's a team with an early 30s pick. You trade up to 32, trade up to 31. You get the 5th-year option on him, so you have more time to evaluate instead of it only be the 4-year contract if he was an early second-round pick. So I think Penix is still a really good quarterback. I just think with the performance we saw, people are going to remember that. When you think of Michael Penix, Texas is going to be, you still consider everything with a prospect like that. But people are going to remember the game against Michigan because that's what we last saw.
I'm just looking at the draft order. Oh, sorry. I was going to say real quick.
I'm just saying his O-line let him down a little bit. Some of the throws.
It wasn't all him. It wasn't all him.
It wasn't all. I want to say it wasn't all on Penix in that game. And he looked really banged up towards the end. Like Michigan just sent the house at him and just made his night hell, or tried their best to, and it showed. But I think like you're right, because people are going to remember this game. It's a little bit of the recency bias. It's not like, we saw the Texas game, and a lot of people saw the Texas game. We're like, damn, like he wasn't missing on his throws. He was throwing darts. He was accurate. He was doing everything. I think he threw for like 403 yards or 402 yards and 2 touchdowns in that game. So he was doing all the right things. But the last game, to your point, Kevin, that people are going to remember, whether it's scouts, whether it's fans, GMs, like more of the people that matter in making these picks are going to remember that game because that's the biggest game of your career. So they're going to look into that a lot. But when he gets to the combine, when he gets to doing his pro day, what, Zach? What was that?
Oh, no, I'm looking at, I think I just fell in love with where I want Michael Penix.
So sorry about him, Rocco.
Yeah,
continue.
sorry.
That's
sorry. He's so distracting, man. It's like
I'm reading mock drafts and I just got excited at the thought.
All right, bring it up.
Goodness.
Bring it up.
I think Michael Penix 11 to the Vikings would be incredible.
Ooh.
Yeah. Think about that with those weapons, Hawkinson, Jefferson, Addison. That would be a fun team. You have, because is Kurt a free agent, or does he have one more year? What's his situation? Because that could even be a guy to sit there and learn from. I think that could be a really nice situation for
well, it couldn't. It depends on what the Vikings are going to do with Cousins, and there's reports that Cousins could take a discount to stay there.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It could even be a situation sort of like we just talked about with Lamar. Cousins is out there, and it's you're learning from him. He doesn't immediately have to go in, and then he either takes over at some point or the next year it's his team. But I think I fell in love with Penix to the.
They switch
Vikings.
Quarterbacks every single week. It was maybe Kirk returns on a hometown discount, but you're gonna have to look to the future at some point.
I would just love Penix throwing to Justin Jefferson and
Let me just throw out.
Good.
Let me just
throw something out here.
Let me just throw out another team for the. And I know this is going to grind your gears a little bit, Zach. But what if you went to a team like Pittsburgh?
Mm.
No, that would be another.
They moved up to get him.
Yeah, I could see Pittsburgh doing that.
Denver.
Because they've had that kind of quarterback.
Originally I was going to say Denver at 12, but I like Minnesota a little more. I like Steelers too. That could be he and Pickens.
Because you see that quarterback carousel with Trubisky, Rudolph, Pickett,